Just make sure if you keep panting that you just pant all the way through the whole episode. This is our life, so I guess, yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
just keep going.
Hello, and welcome to Real Recollections,
That's not how I remember it.
the podcast where we... Dang it, I don't know what the line is.
Doesn't matter.
Where we re-examine
Something about jaded adult
We
lives.
re-examine the entertainment of our childhood and compare it with or see it with our jaded adult eyes, or lives.
Yeah,
Something like that.
kind of close. It was wrong, but it was kind of close. You had a lot
Anyone
of
should know, it
elements.
should be me.
You had a lot of elements in there that were almost right. So,
So 70%? C plus?
well,
B? I got a B?
no,
An A?
no, not an A. So maybe like a
A
D
minus?
minus. Is that still passing?
Whoa!
Do D's count as passing?
I don't know. I don't think I ever got a D, so I
Me
never
neither, so-
examined that.
Never got a D.
To me,
I got a C minus.
in high
though.
school, I was
I got
so
a C
horrible
minus.
that like a B wasn't passing to Mary. I got an A minus and I cried for like an hour when I was in high school. I was so intense.
Mary was an insane student.
And the thing is, our little sister Anne is also intense about school, and when I watch her worrying about it, I'm like, oh, this is what I was like. It is exactly what I was like.
Irrational. Grades don't matter.
It's true. I mean, they help you get into college and all, but there
Yeah.
are other ways.
I don't know.
It just depends on where you're...
Grades never mattered for me.
They certainly don't matter in middle school, right? I watch all the parents of middle schoolers be like, what are you telling my kids?
Okay, let's stop talking
Just
about
kidding.
grades.
School's really important, and you should get A's.
Yep.
A's or nothing.
I take back everything.
I take back my whole life,
Yeah.
everything I've ever said. So, Jonah, today we thought we'd start things a little different.
Oh.
And I just wanted to ask you, what's one thing that awakened your inner kid this week?
My inner kid is dead.
New York has killed it.
It can no longer thrive in these conditions.
As we literally sit in a blanket fort
I'm paying
on our
for-
bunk beds.
I'm paying too much money to have an inner child right now. I'm just kidding.
Inner children don't have mortgage.
Don't have bills.
Rent.
I'm just kidding.
They don't
No.
have to walk 3 miles to get decently priced meat.
No, that is true. So to save money in New York, Mary and I are living in the same apartment,
Yep.
but it's a
Because otherwise we would live in separate apartments, obviously.
yeah. I mean, if we had all the money in the world, maybe we would. You know,
Maybe.
we may spend all of our time
But
at
then
the one or
Ruth
the
would have to
others.
be a timeshare puppy. She'd have to be like from divorced parents.
Yeah, I think she'd be fine with that. Anyways, I think if we did have all the money in the world, we would live in 2 separate apartments. Don't you
Yes.
think?
Maybe same building though?
Ooh,
I would miss you.
that'd be nice.
Yeah, because then you'd have like separate spaces but same building.
No, what about same street?
Jonah's like, that's too close to you.
Or what about just like an hour away?
I'm beginning to think that these roommate thing's not going to work.
I'm just kidding. No. Okay, so no, but I guess, yeah, that is true. So we're staying in the same apartment, but it's technically a studio. But it doesn't feel like a studio, but it is a studio.
Because there's like three distinct spaces.
Okay, so technically for it to have a bedroom, that bedroom has to have a window. But our
really?
bedroom doesn't have a window.
Oh, I didn't know that was a thing.
It can't count as a separate room.
Okay.
It's like the laws, so that like you can't say, oh, I have an 8-bedroom apartment, but you just split this up into like
right.
6.
So it has to have a window.
has to
Is
have
their
a
way
window.
of doing it? Interesting.
Yep. So we have bunk beds, which is fun.
I like it.
We have a futon bunk bed, so we're like the cool kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's the definition of cool kid. Futon bunk beds.
Anyways, the top bunk is, which I sleep on, does bring out the inner kid in me, especially since it's child-sized. And so my toes and my head touch at the same time.
Really? I didn't know
So what I
that.
actually do is I put my toes off the corner.
Do you do a kitty corner?
Yeah, I spread my legs wide. I have very flexible hips.
Oh my gosh.
And I put my toes off the corner of the bunk bed.
Nice. I remember when I was a kid, I used to like be excited that my head could touch the ceiling. But like now, if I would sit on my bunk bed and my head would touch the ceiling, I'd be like, ugh.
Yeah, that's nice that we do have enough room to sit up.
Yeah, under here.
They probably made it that way because guess what? It's a futon.
It's a futon.
What about you, Mary? What brought out your inner kid this week?
You never said what brought out your inner kid, did you?
I did, the bunk bed.
I said that.
Yeah, but then I ran with it and I made it my own.
Okay, fine. So, this week we made pancakes.
Ooh, I know.
Last night we made pancakes. I've been wanting pancakes for some reason for the last week. It doesn't make sense. So I finally ordered like a gallon of syrup and pancake mix, and we made it. And it just brings me back to all the times that we like tried to make breakfast in bread for our parents. Like Aaron would tell us we had to, because Aaron's a nice child. He was like, hey, we should make breakfast in bed for our parents. And we're like, okay.
Yes.
And then we just watched Aaron do a lot of the stuff. And then we're like, yeah, I poured the milk.
I don't remember a lot of that because there's such a big age gap between me and Aaron.
That's true.
I'm sure that happened.
I feel like that's what I remember of happening. But the thing was, pancakes were just kind of hard. I feel like they're a weird choice.
You say that, but I think most people would consider pancakes an easy thing to make.
But like, it's
especially
so easy
if
to
you're
burn
making
them.
it from pancake mix, because you just pour in some water and then you put it on the pan.
But like, it's just hard temperature-wise. Like, you get one perfect pancake as it's heating up, but then as soon as it's heated up, it starts burning them, so then you have to turn it down. And it's just...
The trick is just to not turn it on full blast.
I don't turn it on full blast!
You can, like, keep it, like, at the place where you eventually turn it down to, you know what I mean?
Even last night I burned a couple pancakes. And I was like, I'm too old to burn pancakes. But I still did.
Nobody's perfect, you know? No one said you have to be a pancake chef to have a wonderful podcast.
Wow! That had a lot of peas in it, and I liked it. No one said you had to be a pancake chef to have a wonderful podcast.
Have a perfect podcast.
Have a perfect podcast.
Don't need to make
perfectly proper podcast.
Ooh.
Wait, you don't have to make proper pancakes to have a perfect podcast.
Yeah. Perfectly proper podcast.
Perfectly proper podcast. Oh, I like it.
That is nice. Can somebody put that on the shirt?
You don't have to have... you don't have to make proper pancakes to have a perfectly proper podcast.
Yeah, there you go. Say it with me.
I don't have to have...
You don't wait.
It's too hard to say.
Maybe it's not a good turn of phrase if you can't say it.
Oh my gosh, but that's what awakened my inner kid this week.
There you go.
Just reminded me of all those times.
Pancakes. Anywho, what are we talking about this week, Mary?
This week we're talking about Sleeping Beauty. Oh, Jonah! Guess what? Immediately goes to sleep. Jonah, wait.
What? Sorry, some say that I am a Sleeping Beauty.
Who?
No one.
Some say.
Some say it.
So we're talking about Sleeping Beauty this week. And guess what? This is our 10th, full podcast. Technically, last week was our 10th podcast because of the mini-sode, but if you count just, the core podcast
oh my God.
episodes, this is 10.
This is number 10.
We have reached double digits.
Double digits!
Yes.
You know, some TV shows only have 10 episodes in a season.
Wow, that's amazing.
We could stop right now. This could
and it could be a perfectly proper podcast.
It could be. That is a perfectly nice number. I wanted another P in there, but
perfectly
I couldn't find
number.
the P. Prodigal number. Prodigious.
Prodigious. Peppery.
Pumpernickel.
Pumpkiny number.
Pickles.
Pickled number.
What a pickle for a nickel! Anyways.
Anyway. So anyway,
Sleeping
happy
Beauty.
10th episode.
Thank you. Well, where's my gift? No gift this time, I see.
I did take Ruth out this morning.
Oh, okay.
Can that count as a gift?
Yeah,
I mean, it's something I should be doing, and
once in every 5 times is nice, so...
Hey, it wasn't within every 5 times, because I took her on that random walk when the internet person came over.
That was a long time. That was a week ago.
Was that a week ago? Was that last Monday?
Yeah.
It just felt like such a long walk.
It's over a week ago.
Oh, wow. It didn't feel that long ago to me.
It's still, like, etched into your memory.
It's still etched into my memory. Because I had to, like, rush out of the apartment so that our dog didn't scare the internet man.
And she didn't have her phone, and she was gone for, like, 45 minutes, and I'm like, oh my goodness, my sister has been abducted.
With my dog.
With the dog. Ruth's too nice to save you, so.
Oh. Actually, I bet if we were, like, in distress. Because even when we're, like, doing, like, the Dance Revolution or something, and she's like, that's not natural. You guys aren't supposed to move like that. She starts getting more.
It's not Dance Revolution.
Something else. What is it?
Just Dance.
Just Dance. Oh, it sounds bad when you forget the name of that one. Because, like, it's such a simple name, like, Just Dance.
Yeah. It's Just Dance.
Even if you just said dance, you would get it half right.
Dance Revolution is the one with the arrows on the ground.
That's right. You play it like the arcade.
Yeah, that one's more fun.
Yeah, that one's fun. I like Just Dance too.
Just Dance is also fun, but it's kind of hard, and I feel kind of stupid doing it.
I know, because I know I don't look good, even as I'm, like, trying.
Yeah, Dance Revolution, though, is not really dancing. It's just hitting the right thing.
Yeah. There's nothing with your hands in Dance Revolution, is there?
No.
They should make it, like, bongos on the side.
But sometimes it can have some pretty crazy footwork.
That's true. Get you nimble on your feet.
Yep.
Anyway.
Sleeping Beauty.
Sleeping Beauty. Jonah, what do you remember about Sleeping Beauty from your childhood?
Yes.
What do you remember thinking about it?
I did not like this movie. It was boring. It was long. It was, I don't know. It just didn't interest me at all.
I'm going to say that it bored me to tears.
Yes, Sleeping Beauty was not my favorite as a child, and I thought it was weird because I felt like it was kind of like a non-story, like nothing happened. It felt like watching a live-action movie.
Someone slays a dragon.
I know, but it just takes a long time to get there. And up until that point, nothing happens.
I get that, actually. Because I think, like, when I was... So I feel like I've gone through a little bit of a cycle with Sleeping Beauty as a child. It's like when I first watched it when I was a kid, I remember being, like, bored to tears with the gift songs. One gift, the gift of song, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of this choral.
And then they do those weird...
choral pieces.
Image things. It gave me Fantasia vibes, and I already didn't like Fantasia when I was a kid.
I was just not that kid.
But I loved the fairies when I was a kid. I thought they were super fun, like the cooking scene and the when they're like cleaning up the cabin or the cottage and making the dress. I remember really liking that scene. On the other, so like I liked that part when I was a little bit younger, but like I didn't really remember the rest other than the fairy.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing, so later, like when I was more like 12 or something, I rewatched Sleeping Beauty because I didn't have very many memories of it. I feel like we just didn't own it either. It's like we didn't watch it that often.
Yeah.
There's another one that we just didn't own.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that while I was watching, I was like, what? That happens?
That happens? So I forgot a lot about it. And then we got the DVD when we were in St. George. And I watched it then. And that's when I fell in love with it. I really liked it as a kid. Because I really liked Prince Philip. I thought he was super cool with all his acting.
Yeah, because of his acting. No, that's
I really liked Prince Philip.
I know. I'm just going to say, that's the main thing I remember about Sleeping Beauty is that Mary had a major crush on Prince Philip.
That's true. He's great.
Almost as much as Legolas. It was like...
Well,
Legolas,
okay, here's the thing
Prince
with
Philip,
Legolas.
or Prince Philip, then Legolas?
I will openly say that I had a crush on Prince Philip. Because I was like a little older, like 12, 13. But that's like when I started having crush. I was late to the whole crush thing. Legolas, I guess I had a kid crush, in kind of like Indiana Jones, in that I was like, this is the coolest person on Earth, and I wanted to be Legolas. I wanted to date Prince Philip. See the difference?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Sure. And I really wanted to date Robin from Teen Titans.
So if you had the choice, Legolas, Robin, or Prince Philip, who would you go on a date
Prince
with?
Philip.
Really?
Yeah.
But Robin's so much cooler. And so is Legolas.
He's kind of too serious, though. Well, they're really serious. Whereas Prince Philip is funny, but he's also heroic. He just seems like chill.
He's heroic, but he needed like 3 fairies' help to deal with that dragon.
To help deal with the mistress of all evil as a plain old human.
I know. I'm
still willing to do it without any magical powers.
Legolas probably would have figured out a way to take her down without the help of.
Obviously he could have just like from a mile away shot an arrow, but like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Point is,
the thing is, Legolas probably would have known that she was the princess.
But good warrior does not a good boyfriend make, Jonah, all the time. Maybe you need a little of both. I need someone who is not a warrior all the time.
Okay.
Okay?
We can move on. I'm just kidding. Well, that's what we remember of Sleeping Beauty
when we were kids.
Jonah
awkwardly moves on, like, let's pretend we didn't have this conversation. It didn't happen.
And, here, to refresh your memory of how Sleeping Beauty happens, here is our plot in a pinch.
Roll the camera, Sam.
Sleeping Beauty is a cautionary tale of the woes of neglecting to invite an important dinner guest. The king and queen, not wanting to have the mistress of all evil at their baby shower, intentionally leave her off the guest list. However, the unwanted Maleficent crashes the party anyway, and in a not-so-righteous fury, curses the baby princess, as if she were the one who didn't want to invite you. But what's done is done, and now malevolent spinning wheels and a sleeping death await this poor, innocent child. When the day of the curse comes to fruition, it will be up to 3 Sputnik fairies and Prince Philip to overcome evil and rescue Aurora from oversleeping. You know what they say, 5th time's a charm, right?
Thank you, Jonah.
Oh, you are so welcome, Mary.
Did you say bebe?
Bebe?
Baby?
Princess Bebe? Baby princess? I just thought I added a little bit more, spunk.
You're gonna put a little Moira into it?
A little pizzazz.
Oh my gosh.
Bebe.
Amazing. So, now we're going to talk about how Sleeping Beauty was made in history, like how it came about.
I feel like we should say something about having not a child do our plot in the pinch.
See, Ruth's sad about it.
Ruth is crying because we will now be recording the plot and the pinches from now on, just because it's a little easier with the long distance thing.
Yeah. Just so we don't have to put that stress on those who are across the country and blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Yeah. They did such a good job, though. Sally and Anne are
Can we just have, like, a little round of applause? Where, like,
episode.
We clap in a circle for all the people who recorded plot in pinches
for us.
They were amazing. Thank you so much.
We love them. They're literally related to us, and we love them.
Every single one of them.
Maybe we'll have special holiday podcasts where they do the plot of the pinch when we're home.
Oh, that'd be sweet.
That'd be fun, right?
That would be sweet.
Amazing. So, Sleeping Beauty in history. Dropping it into the past. Let's go to the past.
So, Sleeping Beauty is the end of an era. After Sleeping Beauty, there will never be a film produced that is like Sleeping Beauty. Not with the same caliber of arts and like
done in the same way.
Yeah, and the style of animation. It's a one-of-a-kind gem that will never be recreated. Nothing comes close to it.
Yeah. And it was one of a kind in its own way, too, which we'll talk about. It took, so everyone's always like 6 years in the making, Sleeping Beauty. That's what you'll hear on all of the like any not commercials, trailers or like documentaries. That's what I'm trying. Any documentaries you watch, they always talk about how it was 6 years in the making. But actually, the story for Sleeping Beauty, they started working on it in 1951. So it's actually 9 years in the making. 10 years in the making. Yeah. And so it took a long time, and it's a little bit different of a story too, because unlike the different movies we've talked about where they're still like adjusting, like, oh, maybe we'll put the soup scene into Snow White, and they're like, no, let's cut that last minute, and things like that.
Yeah.
Sleeping Beauty, its script was set by 1952.
Yep. And
they didn't change it after that.
Yeah, I think part of that is because it's quite a simple story. Yeah. And they didn't want it, they wanted it to feel different from the other things that they had done. So there's no subplots, and they just wanted to focus on the subtlety of the characters. And so the end result is that it's a rather serious movie, which is why I don't think I liked it as much as a kid.
Yeah, I get that. There's not as much antics and like...
Yeah, and I think, we can talk about it later, so...
No, that's true. Hold it in, Jonah.
I'm holding it back.
We're talking about history right now. We have to put on our history voices.
But it's a classic Gerd versus Ervil. It's a classic good versus evil movie. In some ways, it is very similar to Lord of the Rings. So maybe
maybe that's
there's something kind
just
of
to tie back my.
Where there's like a clear good side and a clear evil side.
Right, and people are striving to overcome the evil. Yeah. So, yeah, they didn't really want side plots.
Yeah. But they also wanted to bring in elements from Snow White because that was so successful. And they wanted to, I don't know, it seemed like they were kind of branding at this point. Like, we have done a couple princess films, and we're going to do another. They've always done well. We're going to do another princess film. So they wanted elements of Snow White to be included into...
Yes.
Sleeping Beauty.
But they also wanted to find a way to make it different.
Yep.
And so the way that Walt kind of went about that was he expressed frustration that the concept art that we've talked about, like Mary Blair and Ivan Earl and all the other people who do concept art for these movies, he felt like the concept art was beautiful, but it was always pared down and watered down by the time it made it to the movie. Like it didn't make it into the film itself.
Yeah.
And so he wanted Sleeping Beauty to be a situation where literally the concept art was in the film.
Yeah, it was the animation rather than inspiration for the animation.
Mm-hmm. And so he said he wanted it to be like a moving tapestry, Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so for this one, the concept artist / just head guy was Ivan Earl. Yeah, so they put him in charge.
Yeah, he was in charge, and basically you could not fight with anything he had to say. He had a clear vision, and that was what they were going to do. But this was a big gamble because they wanted to take so much time on this and make everything perfect and so artsy-fartsy. It was kind of like Fantasia in that they had to spend a lot of money on it, and they didn't know if it was going to pay off because it was an element that they were adding that wasn't necessarily something in the past that had proven to make money.
And if you watch Sleeping Beauty, you can see these backgrounds are lush. They're so detailed, so beautiful. He got the inspiration for Sleeping Beauty and the look of Sleeping Beauty from medieval art. They actually sent him to the cloisters at the Met Museum to kind of look at art, and he was really inspired by the tapestries there, like the unicorn tapestries. And there was a book of design or something, I can't remember, but there was a medieval book that he looked through that specifically went into Sleeping Beauty.
Right.
And so that was where he took it from. So it's sort of modern and medieval art that he based it on.
Yep. And so one of the things that he also really wanted was a synthesis of characters and background. Which
was difficult because of his backgrounds.
Well, because the way they animate, and because they animate, they draw and paint on those clear... What do they call them?
Cellophane? Is that right?
Yeah. It comes off very differently than painting on a canvas or on paper, art paper. And so it was hard to get the characters to match exactly with the background. So
yeah, because they would outline the characters on the clear sheets. They would do like the lines of the characters, then they would turn it over and paint into the lines. And so like they don't have the luxury of lots and lots of detail on characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the way that he tried to match these characters with the background, which was so intricate, was to bring more verticality into them. So in Sleeping Beauty, you don't have like... I feel like the characters are a lot more regal in a way.
They're a lot more angular.
And angular, yeah.
Even the animals have more like sharp lines to their faces and things.
Yeah.
Rather than fuzzy or anything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And even the fairies that are kind of round and cute, they also have the really geometrical hats.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I was going to say. There's like a geometrical aspect to them, which is also in the background. But one of the things they were worried about is if they have these, how will they make the characters stand out against this really detailed, intricate background? But they realized by making the characters bold and simple with like less colors in them. So you'll notice that a lot of the characters, they're just like one color.
Or maybe two colors on their outfits.
Yeah, it makes them stand out from the background because the background has so many different colors. And
just like you can see every pockmark of the trees and things. And so they just made them simple, clean, and geometrical to stand out. In fact, that led to some disputes between the animators and Ivan Earl. This might be the movie that has the most like influence of one person in it, because Ivan Earl did all the backgrounds.
Yeah.
But so Frank Thomas at one point he argued to take away the black vest that Merryweather's wearing in the like when they're cleaning and stuff. Because he had really worked hard on getting her this like weightlessness look when she's dancing around the cottage cleaning.
Yeah.
And he felt that the black vest just weighted her down. But ultimately, Ivan Earl, like we said, had like the final say. And he was like, no, this is how she fits into the color scheme and everything. Like she has to have
this
black vest.
This is my vision. She has to have,
And so it added that weight to it.
Yep. But despite Ivan Earl really putting his vision on this movie, the animators still tried to bring a lot of warmth and into their design of the characters, despite them being more angular and
and having to have these specific design things.
I think it's kind of like the classic Disney look, that they like try to have in there. Something kind of soft about it.
They brought in the humanity of it, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah.
And so, one speaking of the fairies, one big way in which they did that was through the fairies.
Yep.
So Walt originally wanted the three fairies to kind of be like Huey, Dewey, and Louie, like look exactly alike, but maybe like different colors of clothes, I guess. At least that's what I imagine Huey, Dewey, and Louie, right? Don't they each, like one has a green and a blue and something else shirt?
Right.
Anyway. So he imagined them that way, and that's the way he wanted them, just like simple, all the same, blah. But the animators were like, well, that won't be any fun to animate. That won't let us stretch our wings at all with character or story. And so they really fought for them to be different. And it took them a long time to kind of come up with their characters. Because inherently, the three fairies are the three good fairies. And so they had to be good. They also had to be interesting. And so at first they had them with like really strong, like this person's always bossy.
Yeah, kind of like
Flora. They wanted Flora to be really bossy.
Characterizations more than personality.
Exactly. But ultimately they kind of softened and they kept working on the characters until they got the dynamic that's there, where like Flora isn't the leader, but she's a natural leader, not like the appointed leader.
Yeah.
And she doesn't feel like she has to be in charge. She just naturally kind of takes charge because she feels responsible for what happens.
Yeah.
And then Merryweather isn't impetuous all the time, but she does point out when Flora's plans don't make sense.
Yeah.
But my favorite is Fauna, the green fairy.
Yeah.
So they said they had a really hard time coming up with her character because she's they kept having her be this like in-between person who's always just trying to like keep the peace or something. But Frank Thomas? Or just one of the animators went to, he was in Denver, Colorado, and he was at like a women's meeting. And she was
a ladies' club.
Officer of a ladies' club, got up, and her job was to like, she was in charge of like the weekly poem or whatever. Mm-hmm. And so she got up there, but she's like, oh, I can't seem to find my poem anywhere. But you know what? I have this letter from my girlfriend in my pocket. And so she just reads this letter from her girlfriend instead and talks about like the good parts about it. And he said she was just so kind and so good, and you could see that goodness like coming out of her. And he just imagined that someone like her couldn't even conceive of evilness and such. And so they based Fauna on her, where she's like not all the way there, also was part of it, right? Where she can't like find her poem, whatever. She's not all the way there, but she's good and she's kind and all
just
those things.
Delightful.
And you can see that in Fauna's character, where she's like, just can't seem to believe that Maleficent is really all evil, right?
Yep.
And then so many good things. But yeah, that was the fairies.
And the fairies are designed differently than all the other characters in the film. So they have a much more of a Sputnik design, which was a very popular animation style or cartoon
in, like,
style
comics,
in
right?
the 50s, yeah.
Oh no, cartoons too, huh?
Yes, yeah. Just like short little like instructional cartoons that you would watch in like elementary school and stuff like that. Like, here's how you escape
You know what they remind me of? They remind me of Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. It's kind of like Schoolhouse Rock.
Yeah. Kind of the animation style.
So they're very different from everyone else in
their style. But they still have their hats.
They still have their hats.
To draw them into the rest of the styling, I guess.
So, of course, all the 9 old men were working on this film.
Yep.
Here are some of the standout animators for this particular film. So one is Mark Davis. So he was in charge of animating Aurora and Maleficent.
Yeah.
Which he did a great job with. Because I think Aurora and Maleficent are some of the characters that have the most subtlety and like the most humanity in them in this film.
Yeah, their acting is very subtle and very real.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Later, he was really happy to also animate Cruella de Vil.
He let loose a little bit.
Yeah. Because he had to be sort of reserved for these two characters because they were focusing so much on subtlety.
Yeah.
So he was excited when he got Cruella de Vil because then he could just go all out.
And he said that Maleficent was hard because, like, Maleficent, if you think about it, she doesn't talk to people very often.
Yeah, she mostly does these monologues.
She has these monologues. I mean, even when she's talking to, like, the king and queen, it's like a monologue to the whole room. You know what I mean? And so she's not playing off one person.
Yeah.
And so that's why he gave her, like, the staff to give her kind of more dynamic presence with that, and the crow.
Yeah.
Because that way she would have someone to play off of in these scenes where she's, like, at her castle and she's like, these idiots!
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really cool that he could think of that. Another one is Milk Hall, who got the dreaded prince role.
Yeah, notoriously straight-laced male characters are very hard to animate. And so when he got the job to animate this prince, he was dreading it.
He did not want to do it, which I think is hilarious. But luckily he also got to do the horse.
Yeah,
which they said he really enjoyed.
Which he could have more freedom over. And actually the horse reminds me a lot of the horse in...
Is it
Tangled.
Magnus?
I don't know the horse's name.
It starts with an M.
I know the name of the horse in Tangled.
That's what I'm saying. Maximus, that's what I was trying to think of.
He's very similar to Maximus, don't you think?
Yeah, I was thinking that too. He has a lot of the same characteristics as Maximus. It's fun. I wonder if they had any connection there, or if it just happened to be.
Maybe they did. I don't know.
They're like, oh, we drew off the random horse from Sleeping Beauty.
Anyways, the horse is definitely a very good part of the movie.
Yeah, and as is the prince. Like, just thinking that, like, less than 20 years ago, they were doing the Prince and Snow White.
I know. With his little marching kind of walking in the distance, so I give him that.
I'd give him that. But yeah, and then Prince Philip has a lot of subtlety and, like, humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not just boring.
Yeah. I mean, they had to show him dancing and, you know, and horse riding and sword fighting and...
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just had a lot of dynamic movement, etc.
Yeah, but he's very, like, romantic lead, you know?
Yeah, he is.
Masculine and...
all those things.
All those things that Mary looks for in a man.
So any Prince Philips out there...
Yeah.
Waiting.
Call her up. Her number is...
No.
Just kidding.
Amazing.
So then we have Willie Reiterman, who of course is our fight guy. We talked about him in our last episode.
I know.
With Lady and the Tramp. He did the rat and the dog fight.
Yes.
Right? And so he was also in charge of the dragon fight, which was at one point known as one of the greatest achievement ever done on
70 millimeter film.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how big of like an
achievement that
I'm sure
it's still great, but
I don't know how many films were done on 70 millimeters. I don't know if it's like that's the greatest blue walrus I've ever seen. You know what I mean? It's like there's only one.
No, well, I mean I have to do some more research on what 70 millimeter film is, but
well, it's the longer films. They showed them.
Oh, okay.
So like they used to. So this film was 70 millimeters, which was much longer. Whereas before it was more of like a square. This one is a long rectangle, right? Film.
Anyways, I think it's a very high achievement.
Yeah. It took lots of work and everything, and the transformation is just so good.
Yeah, anyways, one of the tactics he used in this fight was to go on emotion rather than logic. So at one point you see the prince, he's fighting his way through the thorns, and it looks like there are miles of thorns in front of him to get to the castle where Sleeping Beauty is sleeping. But he's cutting away, and then it flashes over to something else, and then he cuts through one more thing, and then he's at the...
Well, not only that, like, he's on his horse. Somehow, there's, like, thorns from the ground up, and he's, like, swiping at the bushes with his sword, and somehow his horse is getting through the thorns. So, like, the other animators were like, Wooly, it doesn't make sense. Like, how is he getting through the thorns? Like, he can't be cutting through the thorns that way. It doesn't make sense. And he's like, it doesn't matter if it makes sense. It doesn't matter if it makes sense. It's about emotion. So that's what he went off of.
Emotion.
Which is true. Like, as you're watching it, I feel like I'm not thinking, like, how is he getting through those thorns?
Yeah, it just kind of makes sense.
You're just like, oh, he cuts through the thorns.
It's more realistic than anime fighting, where they're like, they say like a whole monologue in one jump.
before they take the last punch. So, like, it's like they've powered up for, like, the last punch, and then they, like, have a whole monologue, and in that time, the villain doesn't move or adjust or anything. He's still there to get punched.
Yep.
But you're still there for it, because, like, emotions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, of course, this movie, in addition to great animators, had great voice actors as well.
Yep.
And one of those was Mary Costa.
Who is dear to our hearts.
Who is dear to our hearts, even though we've never met her. She was known... The animators and people who work with her alike, they said that she had a dignity to her, which you can really hear in Aurora.
Yeah.
And it's also cool, they said that she was Southern. She had like a little bit of a Southern accent when she came in.
Yep.
And they asked her to do kind of more of a mid-Atlantic, you know, I guess not Southern accent so that they could record with that. And she did it. She developed it really fast. Job. Yeah.
And Walt Disney specifically said that her voice brought a lot of warmth, and that he wanted her to paint with her voice. Because, I mean, most of what Aurora does is sing in this film.
She only has 11 lines.
So you really need somebody who is a singing actor. But that's hard because a lot of people who sing aren't necessarily the most, like, the
sometimes you can get a good singer,
actor.
But not a great... Yeah, speaking actor, exactly. Or even a great, like, singing emoter.
Yeah.
You know, you can sing
or
beautifully.
You can get a good actor who may be able to sing well, but yeah, they don't necessarily tell a story when they sing.
When they sing, exactly.
You know?
Because I think that's the hardest thing, is being able to be like, I'm singing with my emotions.
The point is, it's really hard to find somebody who can do both at a very high level. And Mary Costa was exactly that.
Yes. And that showed because later she became an opera singer.
Yeah.
Which we have to say because it's exciting.
Because we're opera singers.
Because we're opera singers and opera's fun. Oh, I also think probably one of the hard things about getting a singer for this piece was that it is kind of a high tessitura.
Yeah.
To just like sound easy in.
Yeah, well, they wanted the music to be on a higher level too. It's very much an art film because the art is on a level of like
classical.
Yeah, it's on a different level than the other films. The music's on a different level, and I think they wanted,
or at least that style, right? Because it's so artsy in the filmmaking that they wanted it to be kind of that feeling overall.
Yeah, so they wanted more classically trained voices.
Yeah.
For these roles.
And it would be hard to get someone to sing like Once Upon a Dream and sound so like natural. Like, this is what I sing all the time when I'm in the forest. You know what I mean? You have to find someone who has the ability to do that. Because it's a high song. Even it's one that I enjoy singing now because, you know.
Yeah.
Just fits right into that nice tessitura.
Anyways, we thought it was funny on one of the posters we found that was talking about Mary Costa doing a role with the Met. They put on it like Jingle Singer gets debut at the Met, and we're like, what?
I was like, that's not a very nice way to say it. I mean, they're trying to really, I guess, outline like David and Goliath, like, oh, she went from Jingle Singer to Met Singer, but like, I don't think that's what she was. Because she had done Sleeping Beauty before that.
Yeah, I don't think that's like a fair... I just think it's kind of like...
Condescending.
Condescending and looking down on the other things that she had done in her career.
It's just such a weird thing to pull out as the thing that she is. Yes, funny.
Anyways, we have a dear friend. His name is Wade. And he actually knows Mary Costa.
Yeah, he met her. So we're going to see if we can get him to do a little mini-sode with us and talk about his experience meeting her. But she sounds like such a sweet lady. Yeah. Yeah, she still works with Knoxville Opera. Yeah, that's what I want to say.
Yep, Knoxville,
Tennessee. The guy who plays Prince Philip in this, his name was Bill Shirley. And he was also, they didn't have much on him, but they said that he was very nice.
Yes, and Mary Costa said that everyone had a schoolgirl crush on him.
Of course they did.
Because he sang very pretty, and he was very pretty.
And he was very nice. That's all you need.
There you go. So, of course, like all other films that they've done, pretty much ever, they had live-action actors
brought in to
do the whole movie so that they could get some inspiration. And a lot of people still felt like this is kind of like taking the art away from the animators, but one of the... Mark Davis, he's like, why do it the hard way when you could...
Why make that stuff up when we can just watch it and know how it's done?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Which I get, you know? And one of the things they did in this was they watched a lot of ballerinas. They had which makes sense since it's originally a ballet, Tchaikovsky. Yeah. I thought one like little tidbit that I thought was fun was that the lady who plays Aunt Bee in the Andy Griffin Show, she was actually one of the live action actors who helped with like the Three Fairies scenes.
Oh yeah.
I love that because I love Aunt Bee. So anyway, any of those people out there, Aunt Bee helped with Sleeping Beauty.
Oh, and one thing that I thought was super interesting was that the costumes, like they have to hire
a costume lady to make the dresses from the film.
A clothes designer to like, here's what we want the dress to act like and be like, so make that.
Yeah.
And then they have
I thought that was interesting too.
Just put that together, you know?
Yeah, and so imagine having to take like I guess designers all the time take like drawings and make them into reality, but
I guess so.
That's gotta be kind of fun to like take like an animated character and try and make a dress that sort of matches
That is that dress.
That's really fun. And of course we have our old friend Eleanor Audley in this. She is Maleficent.
The MVP
She is Disney magnificent. She did Lady Tremaine. Or the evil stepmother in Cinderella.
Lady Tremaine, she did the aunt.
Oh.
Wait, yes?
No, that's Verna Felton.
Oh, whoops. I thought that's who we were talking about.
No, we're talking about Eleanor Audley. She did Maleficent.
Yes, she did Maleficent, and she did Lady Tremaine, and she does the voice of the...
Who? I know there's one more, but I can't think of it.
Crystal Ball in...
Oh, yeah, she does the Haunted Mansion.
Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, she does
She
Madame
has
Leota.
a voice.
Yes, her voice has just strength and presence to it. That's why you have to, like, use it carefully. I think that's why she's always, like, these magnificent villains.
Yeah.
Because she just has that, like, presence about her voice.
Yeah, she really played, like, the first two, like, really memorable villains in Disney
And they're
history.
both kind of more subtle.
They really are.
They're really scary. They're both really, like, elegant and subtle.
And they both look like her.
They do. Because she has like, the cheekbones and the really expressive eyes and eyebrows. It's amazing. And they were talking about how, like, when she would come and, like, she was, like, getting out of the car to, like, go do her voice recordings, everyone's like, that's Eleanor. That's Maleficent. That's Maleficent. And everyone just really liked her and they thought she was amazing. And I think she's amazing. And then we have Verna Felton. That's who you were talking about.
Yep, and she played Flora, which is the pink bossy fairy. If you don't know who that is.
Barbara Jo Ellen did Fauna. And Barbara Luddy did...
Who did the voice of Lady in Lady and the Tramp.
Yep, she did Merryweather.
Yep.
Well, I think it's hard for me to pick between Maleficent, Philip, and Merryweather as, like, the MVP of this movie. Those three are my favorite characters.
But we all know... I'm just kidding. We all know who she would like to pick.
Oh my gosh. I can leave my personal feelings aside.
Can you?
Who's the best?
Can you, Mary? He just happened
I can
to
be
make it,
objective.
make it in the top
He may
three.
just objectively make it to the top. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
So the music for this film was obviously based off of the ballet music by Tchaikovsky.
Yeah.
They originally were going to, they had written a score for it and, like, some songs, but they were kind of more in, like, a Broadway style, and it just...
Jingle?
Yeah. In a jingle style. But they just didn't fit the style of the film. They didn't fit the feeling that Walt was going for with this kind of more elegant, I guess, look, right?
Yeah.
So they looked a little strange with everything else. And so they ultimately decided to do the Tchaikovsky score. And George Bruns is the one who actually took it, recut it, riffed on the melodies for the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was interesting because Walt came up to George Bruns and he said, hey, I want this to be different from other films. I don't want Mickey Mousing, which is when they, like
the turtle falls down the stairs and,
you hear, you know. So, like, the music follows the action, like, to a T. It's not that it's trying to... Because music nowadays, I say, more gives mood than it does, like...
the action.
Yeah, paint the action. And so George Bruns did this, and Walt Disney listened to it and was like, so have you even watched any of our other movies?
Don't you know how we score these movies? Etc.
And George Bruns was a good enough employee, good enough person to not say, well, you know what, this is what you asked me to do. But Walt Disney actually went home and he watched the movie over and over and over again.
With the score.
And he came back and he's like, you know what, you're right. It's great.
So maybe in the end, he got credit for coming up with the idea of what he did. Maybe that's the benefit, you know?
Yeah.
Is that in the end, he's like, wow, you were so smart to do it this way.
Yeah,
and that's why we normally do it.
Exactly. And you can really tell the difference in this film. Like, there are a couple moments where there's some Mickey Mousing.
Yeah.
Like when the
bird?
No, I was going to say during the fairy fight.
Oh, yeah, dun, dun, where he's, like, waving the wand and stuff, and it goes along with that. That's true. There's a little bit of Mickey Mousing, but a lot of it is just mood and, like...
Which is kind of nice, and in some ways it reminds me of... I don't know why we've talked about anime twice in this episode, but like House Moving Castle,
Okay, yeah.
or not necessarily I guess
Like
not
Miyazaki?
anime, but, yeah, Miyazaki films where like the music, I always felt like the music in Miyazaki films were kind of strange and different because they're not like Disney at all.
No. They're kind of romantic in a way.
They're romantic and there's like a very clear melody in a lot of parts.
Yeah.
And it just like plays underneath. And sometimes it's like about the overall feeling more than it is about the exact feeling happening at the exact moment.
They're not trying to like make you feel something with like, they show you the character's face and there's like this sad music or something. It's just like an overall feeling of the scene.
Yeah.
And they let it play out the way it is. Kind of. Yeah.
And I feel like there's elements, and there's definitely moments in this in Sleeping Beauty that have that kind of feeling.
Yeah. And
the music is amazing.
It is. It's beautiful.
We should just put classical music with every movie. I think they married the music with the film really well.
Well, and I think that's what makes Sleeping Beauty a bit more romantic feeling, don't you think? Because like Cinderella, it's more about like the mice and like Cinderella and blah blah blah. But I feel like Sleeping Beauty feels more like a love story.
Yeah.
Because there's like, you just have that like sweeping classical score to like take you away.
Yeah,
and dancing.
I mean, if you put Sleeping Beauty next to Cinderella looks a little like, I don't know, like line dancing, a little podunk or something.
No, I love Cinderella too.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I think maybe a lot of people even prefer that, like me.
Like you, yeah.
I mean, at least my child self, I'm like,
yeah, child
I'd much
self.
rather watch Cinderella than Sleeping
Cinderella's, yeah. Anyway, we're not comparing the two, I suppose. But I do think that overall Cinderella's probably more entertaining. But I think this one really was like simple fight between good and evil and like the love story, and yeah. So I think the music really fit it. Actually, only one of the songs that was originally written for the film made it into the film, and that was Once Upon a Dream, because it was based on the melodies from the ballet. And
they did a whole new brand spanking new
Say new one more time.
It was new. New stereo sound for the score, and they had to go. Didn't they go all the way to Germany to record it?
Something like that. I don't know.
All I know, it was a big expense, and it was hard to do.
But you can hear it in the movie. Like, the sound quality is really good.
Now they have stereo sound.
And 70mm film.
Which we already talked about a little bit.
Yeah. But they said it was hard to...
now I remember
animate on it because it was really long. And so when they animate, they have, like, this really thin paper, right?
Yep.
That they draw on so that they can be flipping back and forth, right? So that they can see that the actions are going the way they're supposed to go. But they said it's hard when it's like a tabletop paper that you're flipping back and forth constantly, making pencil adjustments on. And so they said that was a real struggle of this one. But ultimately, of course, it made a beautiful film. Yeah.
And let us not forget that they have 24 frames per second. So that's 24 paintings per second.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that can compare is if you've ever watched, did you ever watch the Vincent van Gogh one they did recently?
No.
They did a Vincent van Gogh movie recently where it was animated, but all in the style of Vincent van Gogh. And so like literally every single frame was a painting.
Oh my gosh.
Like Vincent van Gogh. So anyway, that one for me, I kept thinking of that one when we were watching this one, because they said that every moment of Sleeping Beauty you could like pause it and it's like a painting. Yeah, similar thing. Yeah, and so obviously all these things we've talked about made this film very costly.
Very costly indeed.
It cost a pretty penny. And so it ended up costing $6 million, actually, to make the whole film, which was more than they had ever spent on an animated film.
Which is part of the reason why people don't see Sleeping Beauty as one of the most successful films at Disney. But the year that it came out, it was the second most successful movie after Ben-Hur.
Yeah, which was an incredibly successful film. So it was one of the most well-received films of its year. The only thing was it couldn't recoup its costs because it cost so much money to make.
Yep.
And obviously it's lived on, too. I mean, like, which castle did Walt pick for Disneyland? Sleeping Beauty.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's always going to be a central aspect of Disney.
Yep. Sleeping Beauty was definitely a very influential film.
Yep. So that's how Sleeping Beauty was made. And this is how we felt about it.
Yes, here's how we felt about it. Wouldn't you like to know how our jaded adult lives have influenced our view on this movie?
Actually, I feel like a lot of it's similar. Like, I don't get as bored now, because, like, when I was a kid, I swear I thought those parts where they're giving the gifts, like, one gift, the gift of song, I swear they went on for hours. Like, it felt like they were so long. But as an adult, I was like, oh, these are actually really short.
They're short, but they still feel long.
It's still boring. I think part of it, too, when I was watching it this time, is I was like, how are they doing that with animation?
Yeah.
It almost looks computery.
Yeah, it looks like it's computer animated, but it's not. It's all hand-drawn animation, which is crazy.
Yeah. It's interesting. And the way they, like, kind of go into it and everything. I wonder why they went with a galaxy look. I feel like they went with the galaxies in each of them.
It feels very weird.
It's very artsy. I'm kind of not about it.
I don't know.
Also, why don't they ever show the baby in that first scene?
That part feels a little dated. Like,
yeah, it feels very dated to me. Very dated. I'm like, focus on the characters, but like the gift, I don't know. Maybe if like the characters had sung those songs, like Merryweather, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather.
Yeah.
If it had been like a song that they sang in 3 parts or something, so like it goes back to the character a little bit.
In general, I'm not really a huge fan of like
the choral thing.
Yeah.
To me, that's just score. It's not a song. If there's just a chorus from nowhere, like there's no chorus on screen, the heavenly choirs open up and sing, then I feel like it's part of the score.
Yeah, and I'm not a super huge fan of like choral music that's just about melody, which is funny because I know that's what opera choruses all are. It's just
there's not a lot of
they just sing melody.
Yeah, but they sing it like
yeah,
thunderous, I guess.
I like more chorus music where it's much more like
harmonies and things.
No. I don't want to say harmony. The word that's coming to me is situational, but that's not it. What it's like?
Broad?
No.
Jonah's just moving his hand in a wide rainbow pattern.
I can't think of the word right now, but
explain what it's like.
It's like it's not necessarily focusing on melody and harmony. It's more about atmospheric.
Okay, gotcha.
I like more atmospheric choral music where it feels very, I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that. Okay. Do you have a composer in mind?
Yes, I can't think of his name.
Oh no.
I want to say Philip Glass, but it's not that. Who wrote When David Heard? I know it's like a huge...
Oh, that's Eric Whitacre.
Eric Whitacre.
He's actually kind of influenced by medieval, which is funny.
Yeah. Well, the chords and stuff that he uses, if you can even call them chords, more like...
clusters.
Tone clusters. They're non-conventional. It's not like one harmony moves to another harmony, you know? One chord to another. They don't have functions. They're just like there, and then they're more colors.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't get into those very much. And so like it starts out with that. And it already feels different as like a Disney film because like it opens and it's got like the narrator that's very official. And it starts with like the parade for the princess. And so it feels very like real right from the beginning. Like this is not a funny affair. This is like a serious fairy tale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love when Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather come in though. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I really feel like the movie starts when
they get to the cottage.
Oh no, I was gonna say when Maleficent comes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Maleficent immediately brings a lot of flavor to the party.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just love the part where she's like, oh, you didn't want me here? I just assumed you forgot my invitation. I better leave now. This is awkward.
We didn't want you here.
Merryweather. Also, I mean, I know it's a fairy tale, but I'm always like, so the 3 fairies can't reverse the curse, but they can just kind of like modify it. That's as much power as they have to do.
Yeah.
It's never clear.
But then they
and
put,
why
like,
are
the
they
whole
reserved
kingdom.
to one gift per fairy?
I know.
All 3 fairies can't work together to help. I mean, they work together to, like, make bubbles and things and all sorts of stuff later. So, like, the magical parameters are not clearly stated.
It's probably something like immortals aren't really allowed to get involved with mortal affairs, you know?
Well, maybe. But they want to help out, so they volunteer to raise the child
I know
for 16
that,
years.
like, a lot of fae are like that. But, like, they aren't allowed to use magic to help if they do.
Okay. Interesting.
Not in all stories, but I know in some stories. Ruth, oh my goodness me. So
Ruth is so interested in the microphone.
She keeps moving towards it.
She's like, that's what they like, that's what they don't want me to touch. That's what I want to touch. Just like a child. So help for petting you?
But I definitely enjoyed it more as an adult because I think I just have more of an attention span for everything, and I enjoyed the music a lot more, which I feel like really pulled me through the movie.
I think that whole scene with, like, in the forest is really fun.
Although so many red flags.
Oh my gosh. So I know, don't talk to strangers in the woods. And he, like, sneaks up behind her. He's lucky he didn't get karate chopped.
I know,
so many red flags. If you didn't know he was a good person.
What are you doing?
Run away, Aurora!
Luckily, it works out. Mary and I have been listening to this book done by the people
My Favorite Murder
podcast. And one of the rules in the thing is don't go in the woods. Another rule is words that we don't use on this podcast. But like,
Forget politeness.
Forget politeness. There's a different F word. Which is basically like, if you're in a situation where you're uncomfortable or like you're with a stranger, you don't need to be polite if you are trying to... You
don't need to get in the car or whatever. You can just be like, no. And so,
Aurora breaks every single one of those rules.
I know. Except for at the end when he's like, what's your name? And she's like, oh, no, I can't. And then runs away.
She's like, well, when will I see you? Oh,
never.
Never. Well, never. Maybe later.
How about tonight?
What time? Tonight?
In the Glen?
That was funny.
That was very funny.
And then he's like, where? And she's like, at the cottage in the Glen. Like,
which apparently everyone knows where it is, even though it's supposed to be a secret cottage where they're raising a princess in secret so she doesn't get discovered by the mistress of all evil. But it's easy enough to find that Philip finds it just knowing that it's the cottage in the Glen.
I know. Well, apparently he's really good at directions.
Maybe his horse can track.
Maybe he has a good nose.
Maybe he can smell his way to the forest. Yeah, but I love that whole scene, like the part where she's walking across the log, and they have so many, what's it called?
She's walking through
multiplane.
Oh yeah.
When the camera, she's walking across the log, and the camera goes underneath the log to where Philip is, farther in the woods.
It's so cool because they can never do anything like that at this time in other films.
And so it's just cool to see all like the way that they change the scenes and things. They do a lot of multiplaning in this if you watch for it.
Yeah.
Because they multiplane into the castle for that first thing too.
Yeah.
With the banners and everything. I love that.
I also love the design of the backgrounds. It really is amazing. It really is
beautiful. And I also love Maleficent's...
Excuse
you fell over. Let me help you up, listener. Okay. Of course, I love Maleficent.
Oh, yeah. She's amazing.
She's amazing.
And super powerful. And, okay, so obviously there are problems with... Some problems with Aurora's character, or at least a lot of problems that she gets.
Problems in that she's just not there.
Yeah, she doesn't make a lot of decisions for herself. But there are also way more female characters that do that
in this film. It's true. So, like, the criticism is that, like, Sleeping Beauty doesn't do... She everything happens to her in this, Aurora.
She's a passive character.
I think she's still a nice character. Like, you see her, you like her.
Yeah.
You care about her, you know, but she doesn't do anything to save herself. She doesn't really make any decisions.
Right.
She's taken to the woods, then she's taken back to the castle. The only decision she makes is to, I guess, dance with a stranger in the forest.
Yep.
and fall in love with him. And it only makes sense knowing she's 16 that she's just so heartbroken over all that.
Yeah, she doesn't look like she's 16. She looks like she's like 23.
Exactly. But apparently she's 16. And, yeah.
Apparently.
And then she's hypnotized and she...
So I agree that her portrayal and, like, being such a passive character is not great.
But also it's Sleeping Beauty and it's kind of hard to avoid that.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, she didn't really have any choice over the matter. She was cursed. Like, that was what was going to happen.
So it was always going to be about the other characters.
And then when she's asleep, what can she do to help herself? But you have Maleficent, who's a very active character.
Yes.
Invites herself to the party.
And smart, clever.
And then you have the three fairies, who are also very smart and clever.
Mm-hmm.
And kind and save her, really, in the end.
Yes, it's true. Even though they're not as powerful as Maleficent for some reason.
Yeah. Prince Philip never would have been able to save her without
the three fairies. No, definitely not. I also love that, I get why Maleficent just became such a good, like, people liked her as a villain. Like, you can tell from this film. I think we forget. But, like, she's just like cut and dry evil. I love the scene where she's like, you've been looking for a baby this whole time? We've checked every cradle. And she just laughs, and then she, like, attacks them.
I know.
You're like, oh my gosh.
I forgot about those little minion people, like the pig minion
Scary
things.
pig minion things.
I didn't remember them at all. I saw them and I was like, what the heck?
Because they hardly do anything, honestly.
Yeah.
Also, supposedly, they're terrorizing the neighborhoods trying to find this baby. Imagine if that broke into your house and checked your cradle.
Ew.
I do not like that. I don't like that one bit.
Also, her castle is heckin' scary.
It's heckin' scary with those big fists holding the chains.
I know.
Demon things.
It's a creepo castle.
Let's just say that it hasn't been a fun 16 years to live in this kingdom. Because not only do we have Maleficent's men apparently trying to find the baby and terrorizing the countryside, but then you also have the king burning all of the spinning wheels. How are we making clothes right now? It doesn't make sense.
They took up knitting.
Everyone, you have to have, the spinning is what gets you the fibers to then knit. This isn't that what you do? You take the wool and you spin it into thread.
I don't want to talk about this.
So you're not making clothes with thread anymore. What are you doing? Everyone's clothes are so old by the time Aurora's 16. They've just been reselling and passing down clothing. Nobody's made anything new.
Oh my gosh.
They've got to have, there's got to be other ways of doing it. But I'm just saying, like,
they have to do it by hand?
So annoying. I don't know how you make thread by hand. Write in if you do. Know how they would make clothes without the spinning wheel. As far as I understand it, that's how you get the thread to make clothes, to weave it or anything. So, like, also, all the people, everyone's in an economic downturn because all the clothes people are out of jobs. It is not a good 16 years.
Let's not think about this too hard. It's a fairy tale.
It's true. I'm just saying, not only the princess has a hard time.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the problems I see with Sleeping Beauty every time I watch it. But I do love all the, I love all that part. And the best part for me is just the fairies trying to make those cakes.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Fold in 2 eggs.
Oh, yes. That is the best part of the whole movie.
Is watching
and making
Fauna.
the dress.
Oh, this doesn't look good. That's because it's on you, dear.
And like she's like, what are you doing? Well, I'm cutting a hole for the feet to go in.
And they act like she's so dumb. Like, obviously, we have to have this hole.
And it's funny because, none of them know how to do anything without magic. But we all see Fauna as like the ditzy one, but really they're all kind of ditzy in a way.
Except for Merryweather knows that they don't know anything.
Yes.
You know what I mean? She's like, we can't do this without magic. We don't know what we're doing. And they're like, we can figure it out.
But what have they done up to this point?
Somehow they've raised a baby until she was 16.
They're like, does she need to eat?
No wonder Aurora is so mature, because she probably has to do a lot of stuff on her own.
That's probably what it is.
You know what I mean? Because Aurora feels mature. Like the way she's like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go get some berries, and totally sees through the whole
everything.
surprise thing.
I gotta say, with just 11 lines, Mary Costa brought a lot of personality into...
And the animator did, too.
And the animator, too.
The face.
I
love when she,
Aurora.
She's singing Once Upon a Dream and she, pulls the owl closer.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, I know you, and she's dancing.
Strong and flirtatious.
Yeah, she's really flirtatious and strong. Yeah. It's really funny. And it looks fun. It's fun to watch her, just being herself, dancing by herself in the woods, which is fun.
But we've met before.
Once upon a dream. Yeah. So many red flags of their meeting, but at least I guess she had all of her woodland friends with her. So, maybe they could have pecked him to death or something.
We've all learned your animal friends don't do anything for you from Snow White.
All they can do is go get the dwarves.
Although we've learned the opposite from Cinderella.
Yeah, where they literally save her. So I guess it really depends. Is it just bird friends that are useless?
I guess so.
Yeah. And of course, one thing that always stood out to me was the part where Maleficent's Prince Philip...
I know, sorry.
No, she doesn't sing that part. No, the part where she, captures Prince Philip is scary. But then also when she goes down and she's like, oh, I'm gonna let you go in 100 years. And you're like...
And then it shows him, walking out...
As an old man. And she frames the whole thing like a big heroic, totally sarcastic. And you're like, you're scary and mean.
I know. And that battle is intense. That ensues after that.
Yeah. She summons all the powers of hell to help her.
And she bleeds. He throws that sword in her, which also, seems like a small sword to kill that big of a dragon.
I agree.
Anyways, it's a magic sword.
Yeah.
It's a magic sword. Then she bleeds. It's got to be one of the only times that they show actual blood in a Disney animated film.
Yeah, it's true. She does a lot of, I wish Philip could have done more in that fight in the end. But she doesn't really... They don't really have time, I guess, for him to do anything clever to win. So it just enchant the sword and throw it. I guess he throws it.
He does throw it, and he holds his own.
And
he climbs up that...
hill backwards, fighting off a dragon.
And then he climbs up that mountain with one hand.
I know. Using the other one to, fend off the dragon.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That was amazing. Yeah. So he works hard.
He does work hard.
For the girl that he loves.
Yeah, he works hard for her.
And it is cool that they fall in love and they don't know that each other are prince and princess.
Well, this is the 14th century.
This is the 14th century. They can marry who they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. They got to know each other a lot through dancing. With no music, because there would have been no music actually in the woods.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Mary, in your humble opinion, does Sleeping Beauty hold up?
I still enjoy parts of it quite a bit, but I actually don't... It wasn't as good as I remembered it from when I was 12. Yeah.
So it's better for me and worse for you. But does it hold up? It
holds up. I really like it. But it's not as magical as I remember when I watched it when I was 12.
I actually quite liked it. So
yeah,
there you go. I think the only outdated things in them are Sleeping Beauty's character.
Yeah.
I wish that she was more active.
Everything with the chorus. Just make it go.
The choruses. That's just a me thing, probably. Actually, sometimes I really like those choruses, like in Life is Beautiful. It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a Wonderful Life? Which one? The Christmas one or the Italian one?
The Christmas one.
Okay.
Where they sing all at the end,
Yeah, that's cute. But you can see them.
They're not
an unearthly chorus of people commenting on the action.
Exactly.
They're not a Greek chorus.
Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's what is going on?
I do like how romantic this one. I like that they have one that's not about antics. It's this is a grand romantic fairy tale. It's not silly. It's not whatever.
I think...
Let's indulge in the fact that it's a fairy tale, and we love that.
Yeah, I think, it's wonderful in that it is what it is. Is it, a perfect movie? I would say no. But...
Is it a beautiful movie?
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's totally worth seeing. If you haven't seen it,
go watch it.
Because it's a pillar of
design.
animation, like the peak of
music.
animation.
And the characters are good. There's just a couple of depth things. I think the main thing is that there's no
the other thing,
central hero per se.
the other thing I was going to say that's outdated are the animated sequences when the choruses are singing.
Yes.
I'm like, I think just because it's so easy to do that now with like computer animation, and it kind of feels like that cheesy like screensaver thing that like goes on in the background.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Exactly what it feels like. Tune in for the screensaver part.
I'm sure, like at the time they're like, "Whoa, how did they do that?" But now I'm like
the sparkles that come down into her crib look like they're
really
computer
cool.
animated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, they should have shown Aurora the baby. I'm sorry, I just feel like that would have added to that scene.
But what if she looked like
Lady in the Tramp?
Lady in the Tramp?
Oh, that's
baby.
the other thing I don't like about this movie. I don't like when she wakes up. I think she looks weird. In that scene where he kisses her, and they draw back, and she has like these crazy eyes.
Oh my gosh.
I don't like it. That was one of the things I remember from when I was a kid. I was like, oh, she looks weird. Whereas like in all the other scenes, she looks different. I almost think they painted her like she was with the background in those scenes. So. And so then they only animated like her eyes or something, and it looks really weird to me. I don't like it. Anyway, you can tell me your opinion, I don't like it. I get what you mean. She looks weird and stoic rather than like herself like in the rest of the movie.
But overall, it is a good movie, and it's a very influential one, and one that really sets a standard in a lot of ways. So that's what we thought, and we'd love to hear what you thought.
Yes, please send us your emails and tell us all about your first animated crush, if you ever had one.
Oh my goodness, please do that.
If they exist, if that's a thing. Send them in. Send us in if you love Sleeping Beauty the most. We want to hear about it and why. You know, if you danced around your house to Once Upon a Dream, put on your own ballet.
Absolutely.
Whatever. Just tell us everything.
Because you know what? We love you.
We love you.
And we are in love with you.
Yes. So, tune in next time. No, but really, we love you. Please email us at realrecollectionspodcast@gmail.com, or you can check out our website, realrecollectionspodcast.com. We put up little things in our extras that are like where we got all our information and like all the books we read and documentaries we watched, etc. I need to update that, but we try to put a couple things like that in there. Also, please join our Facebook page.
Yeah.
Real Recollections. Just look that up. Real Recollections Podcast, I think we'll get it for sure. Real Recollections, I think, gets it as well. You'll see our picture.
Yep.
Yippity
yip.
Yippity yip.
And have a
wonderful week. Love you. Stop. Uncomfortable. No.